Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. I'm looking at a loose-leaf reference work which has come to us from Jordan's, and I'm doing a reasonably in-depth review of this work. It's in two binders and it's known as Gore Browne on Companies. It's been edited by Alistair Alcock, Lord Millet and Michael Todd, Queen's Counsel. As I've indicated, it's published by Jordan Publishing Limited. My wife Elizabeth and I talked about this loose-leaf work because it's a special work, and we've given it the title "Every Significant Development in Company Law is Covered in this Excellent Loose-Leaf Work." Now, I'm going to show you the book, the binder in two parts first of all. There's the front and there's the spine. There's nothing on the back. The way that the book is structured is right at the front. You've got a bulletin which keeps you as up to date as possible with what's going on. Then you can see the various tabs here for the parts. Now, the way that this operates is that it starts off with the Companies Act legislation itself right at the beginning, and then it's the tracker, so it shows you actually how the sections work there. Then you go into the various destination tables for the Companies Act. Then you have a full table of cases. Then you go into part 1, companies and other associations, and the first binder has the first few parts, and then it runs on obviously into a second binder for additional parts. That's part 1 on companies and other associations. Then the constitution and personality, so all the usual suspects are here for company law, by the way. Members of a company there, part 3. Directors and management, so directors' duties, part 4, and management, how you run the company. Part 5, enforcement of duties when they don't do what they should be doing. And you can see the names of the people who are the contributors. Can I just say, with each of these you get an index at the front, which is quite useful. You can see how that's operating. And then you've got the actual page numbering there. But what you've got is you've got the actual page numbers at the sides, so you can see what you're looking for. And underneath each section you've got the relevant references to the civil procedure rules, the acts, or whatever you're actually looking to justify the particular point that's being made. Obviously a lot of case law is also included in each section. Then at part 1 you have a full index at the end of that binder. Now, binder 2 continues. This is binder 2 here. You can see that. I'll just put that back there. These are heavy books and there's a lot of information in them. Binder 2 then goes on to deals with share capital, which you've got there. You can see that. Then it runs through to loans, then general disclosure requirements, very important. Quoted companies, that's an important area. Takeovers and mergers for those specialist areas. Then you've got taxation of companies, very important again. Then financial difficulties, which the company goes into. That is the big section. Again, you can see how it's structured, the actual loose-leaf works. This is liquidation of the company, that is part 13. Then we go to conflict of laws, part 14 at the end. Then there's the index at the back, the same as the first binder. Then you've got your file records for updates. Being a loose-leaf work, this is excellent because it means that you can take the stuff out and put new stuff in depending on changes in the law and new case law. And as I've indicated at the front, you get new information coming with the bulletins, which are produced on a pretty regular basis. The Gore Browne bulletin. This is what we say about the publication. It's an important work. It's a 2-volume work, as I say, by Alistair Alcock, Lord Millet and Michael Todd, Queen's Counsel. And it's where the details of all aspects of company law are to be found in our great common law system. In common with other publishing companies, Jordan Publishing have produced a series of fundamental loose-leaf works for lawyers which concentrate on particular legal disciplines relevant for specialist counsel. This one, of course, is on corporate governance, company law, whatever you want to call it. We're calling it company law for the purposes because that's certainly what I know it as, and I think most people do as well. As practitioners, we cannot do without these works to carry out our professional duties properly, because they contain everything which is current about a specific aspect of law for which legal research needs to be conducted. So the indexes in particular are extremely detailed, and you will find those very helpful. For each part you have an index, a short contents section which links in with the index at the front, so you should be able to find your way around it pretty quickly. Most lawyers will remember, of course, from their student and early training days, how much reliance can and must be placed on up-to-date, concise and detailed works which we need for court, for opinions and for drafting, as well as general advice and conferences. We're pleased to say that Jordans are the consummate lead publishers in this field, with their excellent reference and research material for company law. Obviously there are other reference Looseleaf works from other publishers. This one is particularly important for company law, and Gore Browne is a leader without any question. So Gore Browne on Companies, as it's called, is therefore what we would describe as a world leader for company law. There are regular updates, as I've indicated, which form the basis for this Looseleaf reference work format. There's also an online service which is particularly relevant to today's savvy web user, although we recognise that some users will have initial difficulties with the navigation of the various sites. So it's a matter of getting used to the new way of doing things, and do practice with the online system, because when you buy the service you get the whole lot, and it's very important if this is the area that you practice in. The general advice given is to practice, as I say, using the site, that's the online site, and all the sub areas, either on your PC or a tablet. It's rather like getting used to a new mobile telephone handset, if you like, as they all have their different little quirks and you have to get used to it. But you get there in the end with a bit of understanding of what the online system actually offers, which is quite actually something you can pick up quite quickly, as practice makes perfect, of course, with all of these things. Can we offer a word of warning just on the Looseleaf Works in general, though? Don't expect too much until you are conversant with where things are in the two volumes. You'll get used to it by just sort of going through it from time to time. Remember that there's a tremendous amount of information and content available, because this is where the law is stored. And always be aware that the concept ignorance of the law is no excuse is one of those little legal fictions which politicians and judges love, because we all know that you can't possibly be aware of much of what's in these Looseleaf files, which is why legal research is needed in the first place. And obviously the practice of using these reference works is very important, especially for the basis of legal research itself, when you're right at the beginning of a particular case on instructions. The other main point to be aware of is that some practitioners will assume erroneously that the online side of the work will offer you everything you may need in court. This, of course, is not the case. The Looseleaf reference makes it easier to copy pages for the court. You can take them out from the metal clasps there, they come out like that, and then you just pull the whole thing out. And it's not difficult. If you haven't used it before, it's quite easy once you get used to it. The Looseleaf, as I say, it does make it easier for you to copy the pages out if you're going to have to hand them up to the bench. But don't forget, your judge may not use computers regularly or even like them, so you've got to be aware of each judge and what they actually want, because these Looseleaf works are quite useful. You can take them into court with you, obviously, and you need the photocopies. And then there's the court service itself, which is currently being reshaped, as we know, into a post-legal aid for all era. And it's because of this that Jordan's facilities, which they offer us, have come to be accepted really as a brilliant step forward, because they're becoming more commonplace both in chambers and with legal advisors, and of course in the courts, and for ADR, including things like expanded video links, as they are now becoming into much more regular usage to avoid both time delays, adjournments and travel costs and so on. As I say, the manual has two binders. This is binder 1 there, and it runs through. It obviously has the table of cases at the front in binder. Then it launches with the first part, part 1, and then binder 2 then continues with the specific paragraph numbering, and there's an index at the back of both of the binders. As I say, binder 2, it doesn't actually have, I said it has a sleeve, but it doesn't actually have the sleeve at the front for any CDs or updates. But what you can do is the updates actually go into the main Looseleaf binder. And obviously there's hands-on information which you will need, and thankfully everything is updated very regularly as part of the service which Jordans offer. And right at the back you've got of binder 2, you've got the update form which allows you to manually list the changes as old loose leaf pages are removed and new ones added to reflect change in the law and practice of the substantive law. Let me conclude by saying practitioners in the last few decades have found that the easiest way for the moment to address corporate governance or company law issues lies with rapid access, either online or paper, to case law authorities in both primary and secondary legislation. We start off in binder 1 with the legislation and the cases, and that is a thread running all the way through, and you will find quite a lot of the footnoting immediately after one particular paragraph, so you haven't got too much toing and froing within the various binders. You get all of this with Gore on companies, which in our view remains the ultimate statement on the subject, and there's nothing to beat it in our opinion. Thank you, Jordans, for making our lives a lot easier explaining the intricacies of company law. And let me just remind you what it looks like again. That's the first bit, binder 1. You've got the tabs at the front there. As I say, the cases, it does start off with the list of cases. You've got company law as well, but what it actually doesn't say cases, it says tables, but it actually is the cases. Just so you know where that is. That's part 1. As I say, there isn't actually a sleeve or any CDs for this, but what you have got, this is the part 2. Again, you can see it's not numbered by alphabetically, it's actually given numbers. There's one on loans, and that's part 7, and you can see how it runs through. And as I say, the index at the back is very detailed indeed. You should be able to find anything you want there, and it follows very much the standard structure depending on which publishers you have, but generally speaking they all generally have a reasonable amount of standardization, so you shouldn't find it too difficult to achieve what you're looking for depending on what sort of case you're acting in. I'd like to thank all of the people involved for this publication. It's excellent. It's one of many that Jordans now publish. Without it we couldn't do our jobs. It's as blunt as that. So thank you to all concerned, and happy reading with what is a hefty series of binders. Thank you anyway. Bye bye.